Developing right now on Morning News Now, President Trump doubling down on plans to take over Greenland, telling NBC News exclusively that he's not ruling out military force after threatening to impose tariffs on several European countries until a deal is made.
I don't think they're going to push back too much. Look, we have to have it. They have to have this done. They can't protect it.
More on the plans, the pushback, and how a deal could have impacts worldwide. Also this morning, parts of the U.S. frozen over as temperatures drop by double digits, causing problems for commuters from the Midwest to the Northeast. We are tracking the conditions and the warnings for you. Plus, debunked. New research shows no evidence of a link between taking Tylenol during pregnancy and a child's risk of autism. What doctors want you to know. And dare to daydream. We will explore how the key to improving your well-being could be as simple as letting your mind wander. Although I have a feeling that's probably easier said than done for a lot of us. Good morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe is off today. Thank you very much for starting your day with us. We are going to begin our show with the ongoing diplomatic firestorm between the United States and Europe over the future of Greenland. President Trump is escalating his rhetoric over his desire to take over the resource-rich Danish territory, despite Denmark and Greenland insisting it is not for sale. In an exclusive phone interview with NBC News, the president refused to rule out using military force to seize the Arctic island. He also did not back down from his threat to impose additional tariffs on 8 European countries if the territory is not sold to the U.S. by February 1st. It is a position that's causing alarm across Europe and NATO, with leaders scrambling to respond. Nevertheless, the president is expected to repeat his message to delegates when he travels to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland later today. Well, last night, the president explained why he thinks the U.S. needs Greenland.
We have to have it. They have to have this done. They can't protect it. Denmark, they're wonderful people. And I know the leaders are very good people, but they don't even go there. And, you know, because the boat went there 500 years ago and then left, that doesn't give you title to property.
In a few moments, we will discuss the potential impact of these tariffs with Duncan Edwards. He is the CEO of Transatlantic Trade Association, British American Business. And before that, though, we are going to go to NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumback. Gary, always great to have you. So as we heard there, the president not backing down. What more did he tell NBC News about his plans for the territory and this tariff threat for Europe across the board?
Yes, Savannah, the president clearly not going down without a fight on this particular topic. He says he absolutely needs Greenland for the national security of the United States. He says he wants to build the Golden Dome missile defense system, much like what Israel has, and that it's vital to have Greenland to create that for the U.S. He also says Europe should focus on Ukraine and Russia and not Greenland. And he says he absolutely plans to follow through on those tariff threats. Again, he said he's threatening 10% tariffs on 8 EU countries, and that could go up to 25% by June 1st if this deal is not done by that point. In response, the EU is planning counter tariffs on things like Boeing airplanes and bourbon and car parts. Savannah.
Gary, the president has also reacted to a text message exchange between him and the Norwegian prime minister. And it looks like he's linking these Greenland threats to being snubbed for the Nobel Peace Prize, sort of saying, well, I tried to go the peaceful route, doesn't matter anymore. Tell us a little bit more about it, what exactly he said and what the president has said in response to these comments coming out.
It really is fascinating here, Savannah. So much of the diplomacy on this topic is happening over text message via world leaders. He said, quote, considering your country has decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for stopping 8 wars, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. He says he believes he's done more for NATO than any other person in history. And because of that, he says NATO should do something for him and in turn give him Greenland. But while he's texting things like that to world leaders, that's not exactly what he's saying to the American public. Here's what he had to say last night.
I don't care about the Nobel Prize. If anybody thinks that Norway doesn't control the Nobel Prize, they're just kidding. They have a board, but it's controlled by Norway, and I don't care what Norway says. But I really don't care about that.
The president here putting decades-long relationships on the line internationally, all for pushing something that the American people largely don't want to happen. 86% in a recent CBS poll say they don't want military intervention in Greenland. Savannah.
Gary, the president also, it looks like he's posting his own private messages from other leaders on social media. That includes French President Emmanuel Macron, NATO Secretary General as well. What do these messages say? And just how concerned is Europe right now? Like, walk us through the domino effect here that we could see, especially when it comes to NATO allies.
It really is fascinating to see sort of how the sausage is made here among conversations between massive world leaders in this world. It's very rare to see this. President Macron saying he's trying to lavish him with praise, saying he's doing great work on Syria and with Iran, but then saying, quote, "I do not understand what you are doing on Greenland," and suggesting setting up meetings when he goes to Davos later today to try to get everyone to the same table to talk about this topic in person. The head of NATO doing very similar, talking about how he's lavishing with praise and then saying, "I'll do whatever it takes to help you," committing to find a way forward on Greenland. Savannah.
Gary, as always, thank you very much for your reporting, and thanks for kicking us off this hour. Let's now bring in Duncan Edwards to talk about the president's threat to impose these additional tariffs. Duncan, good morning. So first, just your reaction to this announcement by President Trump, and walk us through the impact you see potential here these additional tariffs could have, especially on the British and American transatlantic trade. I know that that's what you focus on.
Yes, it is. And for British companies that were wondering whether 2026 would be as disruptive as 2025, they now have their answer. And of course, this adds to a long list of issues that the UK and the US are trying to negotiate at the moment. There was a trade agreement announced back in May, the economic prosperity deal, which still isn't finished. So more than half of that agreement is still yet to be negotiated. There was a technology prosperity deal negotiated when the president was in London in September. That hasn't been negotiated. In fact, negotiations on that have been abandoned for now. And then there's a pharmaceutical deal, which was announced in December, and that too has not yet been completed. So there's a lot of unfinished business, which of course adds to uncertainty for businesses that are trying to trade across the Atlantic at the moment.
Duncan, Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer said yesterday that a trade war was in no one's interest, and also downplayed possible retaliation from the UK. Let's play a little bit of what he said first.
A tariff war is in nobody's interests. And we have not got to that stage, and my focus, therefore, is making sure we don't get to that stage.
Do you think the UK would eventually, escalate to retaliation if the president follows through with his threat?
Well, it's a possibility, but we hope not. So certainly at this stage, we don't think there's any place for tariffs. I mean, basically, if tariffs are bad for both economies, then why would you willingly impose them on yourself and on your own companies? So we hope that reciprocal tariffs are not introduced either by the UK or the EU. And by the way, there's quite a long time still to go until the 1st of February. So we expect continued negotiation, continued diplomacy. Everyone's going to be in Davos this week. And we hope that some form of solution will emerge from the snowy slopes of Switzerland, which allows the president to back off from this ridiculous threat.
Duncan, you mentioned hopefully the UK doesn't, hopefully the EU doesn't. Well, on the other hand, the EU is said to at least be mulling retaliatory tariffs up to $107 billion worth of U.S. imports, and also considering something that's never been used before. It's kind of known as the bazooka option that ultimately restricts U.S. companies from accessing the European market altogether. I know the UK not part of the EU, and I know that you really focus on these British-American relations, but you're obviously an expert in the space. Could something like that almost have like a contagion effect on transatlantic trade with Britain? And what do you think that would mean more broadly between the U.S. and the EU?
Well, I can understand why the EU is preparing its so-called bazooka. There's no point in going into negotiation with a gun that isn't loaded. So I understand why they're doing that, but we really hope that they don't. Trade whilst the tariffs from last year are unhelpful, trade across the Atlantic is actually in pretty good shape, and so we don't want any escalation of this dispute. And certainly the bazooka would be again something that the US would have to respond to in turn.
Duncan, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your expertise. It's helpful to our understanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it is another day of freezing temperatures for millions of Americans. Might not have to tell you that. You are about to see drone footage. This is of Interstate I-96. This is just southwest of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Officials say snowy conditions caused a chain reaction pileup here on 196 where more than 100 vehicles smashed into each other, including more than 30 semi-trailer trucks. State police say so far there are several injuries, but no reported deaths. Well, the snow is combining with frigid cold stretching from Florida to the Northeast. Meteorologist Andrea Romero is here with more of what we all need to know as much of the country is in winter's icy grip. We certainly are here, Andrea. It's time for our forecast. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. And winter does not want to let go of that grip that it has across the country. We can see this dangerous cold temperatures, a straight shot from the Arctic. It's spilling into the lower 48s. Over 40 million people will be impacted by some sort of cold weather advisory this morning, stretching all the way from the Great Lakes down into Florida. In fact, if we take a look at the frigid morning that we have in Florida right now, we're looking at temperatures in Orlando in the 30s. A normal low is usually around 49 degrees. So we're below average with those freezing temperatures. We have some freeze warnings in effect stretching into southern Georgia. And of course, the bitter cold temperature that we have over the Great Lakes in the Midwest over into the Northeast this morning. So we're looking at wind chills that are sub-zero across the area. And this cold weather will continue today. Highs only in the teens, maybe perhaps up to 20 in Chicago with 22 as the high degree. But of course, the wind chill will make it feel a lot colder throughout the day. And into tonight, we're also looking at really cold temperatures. This bitterly cold will continue through tonight into tomorrow morning. So as far as the precipitation, we have this next round of snow as the Clipper system drops and moves across the northern plains. We have these intense lake effect snow bands that are setting up and continue to just dump a lot of snow over downwind area from Ontario, Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. We're talking about accumulations in some area up to 2 to 4 feet that we're expecting. And the snow will linger across the Great Lakes for the next couple of days. We have a million of people impacted with these winter weather alerts. And of course, that bullseye continues to be there in the northern part of New York, where we're looking at the possibility of up to 4 feet of snow. We do get a brief relief from the cold temperatures from today into tomorrow, possibly into Wednesday, but then that cold temperature continues to come down, and that will be for the weekend. And that's going to set us up. Now, if it wasn't for the cold, this would be the headline story. And that's the possibility of a weekend winter storm. It's a storm that's going to develop over the Rockies and the plains. The wintry mix is going to affect the southern plains. It's going to be stretching from the plains into the mid-Atlantic by Saturday. And we can see the scope of this storm is going to be bringing a combination of snow up into the northeast, ice in the mid-Atlantic, stretching all the way through into parts of the Gulf states. We have that bitterly cold air that we'll also be dealing with into the Gulf Coast. So we're looking at the possibility of power outages with lots of ice stretching with the storm across the area.
Oof, and that can be dangerous for sure, something for people to pay attention to. It's really something how much of the country is dealing with these freezing temperatures.
It's incredible. We have most of the country, except for the West. The West is actually dealing with warm temperatures. Yeah. We have that high ridge set up across that area, but the rest of the country, we're just dealing with below average temperatures, and it just doesn't want to go away.
Oh, All right, thank you. See you in a little bit. A Minneapolis church is stepping up to help thousands of families who are too afraid to leave their own homes for even a trip to the grocery store. Heidi Wigdahl from our NBC affiliate in Minneapolis reports.
When a call for help went out,
where'd you shop today?
Minnesota
Holy cow.
answered.
My neighbors need my help.
At Iglesia Dios Habla Hoy, or DHH Church in South Minneapolis.
People walked in the door, so what do we do? Said, grab a bag and start emptying it out. So
hundreds of volunteers are organizing donations.
Do you want to put granola bars in with cookies or?
That will be delivered to families too scared to leave their homes.
They're afraid to go out. They're not going to work. And some of them are starving.
Pastor Sergio Amezcua started the food drive when ICE agents first arrived in December.
Rice, beans.
The church is distributing up to 70,000 pounds of food each week.
It looks like they're responding to a hurricane catastrophe, but it is a mental catastrophe what the government is doing with us in Minnesota.
Donations like diapers come in response to the people Pastor Amezcua meets.
I got a mother that told me the other day that she was recycling the diapers. She was washing the diapers, and I said, no.
So far, they've been able to help 14,000 families, but around 25,000 families are registered. Those affected include citizens and residents legally here.
From a conservative pastor, what Donald Trump and the White House doing is horrible, and we feel betrayed by him.
When Pastor Amezcua realized food banks are closed on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, he called for help.
The more we can do for each other, the better.
In a matter of hours, the community responded.
And our immigrant community and Latinos, especially in Somalis, are going through hell, and that's not the America that we know.
But this
Show up and see if you can help.
is the Minnesota he knows.
This is one way that takes no skill, just takes showing up. You know, and I think we got to keep showing up for stuff.
Our thanks to Heidi Wigdahl for that report. Well, there's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, wellness checks powered by AI. Experts sounding the alarm on using technology to pre-screen patients looking for a therapist. Why some are calling it a form of gatekeeping now. But at first, after the break, tragedy in Spain. The latest in the investigation into a deadly derailment that killed dozens of people. We will be right back. Welcome back. Today, Spain is beginning 3 days of national mourning following that deadly train derailment over the weekend. Spanish authorities say at least 41 people were killed after a train went off the rails and crashed into an oncoming train in the Cordoba province on Sunday. Now experts are working to uncover the cause of this accident, which officials are calling the worst train crash in Spain in more than a decade. On Monday, the country's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, said it was, quote, a day of pain for all of Spain. He canceled his trip as well to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, to visit the crash site and support the victims. NBC News correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us now with the latest. Danielle, good morning. So let's just start with, do we have any clues yet as to what caused this?
Well, we have an indication of what it could be. The investigation, Savannah, is being led by the Rail Accident Investigation Commission in Spain. What we know is that these were two high-speed trains. One is privately owned. The other one is run by Spain's public railway company. Neither was speeding at the time. What we know is that the last 2 out of the 8 carriages of the privately owned train that was going from Malaga to Madrid in the north derailed and hit the oncoming train, causing the first 2 carriages of that oncoming train to derail and fall down a 13-foot slope. Officials have described this as tragic, yes, of course, but also strange. This happened on a flat stretch of track. The Transport Minister said that the privately owned train was less than 4 years old and that the railway track had been completely renovated back in May with an investment of $800 million. The last inspection, January 15th, so just a few days ago. A possibly damaged or faulty rail joint is now a key part of the investigation, Savannah.
And Danielle, what are we hearing from passengers who were on board these trains about what happened?
Yeah, well, first of all, for now, the train line linking Madrid, Cordoba, Seville, Malaga on the coast, that, of course, is out of service for the time being. And as the days and hours go by, we are hearing stories of survivors. In one case, one woman told local media how she got up from her seat just a few minutes before the crash in what turned out to be one of the worst hit carriages. She got up to sit with a colleague, a decision that likely saved her life. The next thing she knew, she was breaking open windows with emergency hammers and trying to pry open the doors. She got out. 187 people were on that train. As you mentioned earlier, dozens wounded. We'll be hearing a lot more stories as the survivors emerge from this crash and recover in hospital.
Certainly. And Danielle, there were those 41 victims, 41 people killed in this tragedy. Have the victims been identified at this point? And any updates on those who were injured, the 24 or so?
Yeah, and we're also still waiting to hear about possible nationalities. But what we do know, for instance, that the driver of the oncoming train was killed. He likely would have been in the first car. Most of the dead and injured were in the first 2 carriages. The collision happened in the countryside in the foothills of a series of mountains, so not easily accessible. In fact, there's only one single track road, which is a huge challenge for rescuers who are trying to bring in heavy machinery, which they need to reach those two carriages down the slope as they try to recover the remains of those still missing, Savannah.
All right, Danielle Hamamdjian, thank you very much for your reporting on this tragedy. Well, let's stick with international news. China's birth rate is at one of the lowest points in decades, despite the country removing its famous one-child law several years ago. NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer explains what is behind this decline from Beijing for us. Janice, good morning.
This is the fourth straight year that China's population has declined. The birth rate here hitting its lowest since 1949, when modern China first started keeping records. For decades, the most populous country on the planet, China is now shrinking. And the numbers highlight a deepening demographic struggle here, as Chinese officials have launched sweeping efforts to get couples to have more babies. Things like cash incentives, invoking patriotism, even putting a tax on contraceptives. Still, the number of live births went down to 5.6 per 1,000 people, while its death rate rose to its highest level since 1968. The fertility rate is so low that experts fear it's now impossible to reverse. And the driving reason behind the decline in numbers is that young couples are making a conscious choice to not have children. The cost of raising kids is already high and on the rise, along with unemployment here, and the marriage rate is also slipping. It's a challenge in a lot of parts of the world, but here the impact is acute. China faces an aging population plus a sluggish economy, and fewer children means a smaller workforce in the future, putting the social safety net at risk. Even China's President Xi Jinping has openly pushed to change the trend, calling for what he called, quote, a new type of marriage and childbearing culture. None of it has really worked. And people we've spoken to say it's a lifestyle choice, especially with economic uncertainty, a property crisis here, and aging parents in less of a position to help out. Remember, it was only a decade ago that China ended its strict one-child policy to allow people to have 2 children, and 5 years ago to have 3 or more kids. But since then, the birth rate has plunged 17%, with no apparent solution to get it back on track.
All right, Janice, thank you very much. Well, now developing news out of Guatemala, where the death toll from a string of suspected gang attacks on police is rising this morning. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Claudio, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. Well, that's right. Officials in Guatemala say now that at least 10 police officers have been killed after days of rioting in several prisons across the country. Now, according to authorities, the violence started on Saturday when inmates seized control of 3 prisons, taking 43 guards hostage, demanding privileges for their gang leaders. The government declared a 30 days state of emergency, which includes heavier security in the streets of Guatemala. Let's go to Australia's New South Wales coastline now, where there have been a series of shark attacks in the last 48 hours. Local police said on Tuesday a surfer sustained a wound to his chest after a shark bit his board. It follows 3 other attacks in Sydney over the past 2 days, prompting the authorities to close all beaches in the area until further notice. The police said the attacks followed days of heavy rains, which created, they say, a perfect storm environment for shark attacks. And let's end this tour of the world in Japan, where the tourism minister said tourists in the country reached a record high in December, despite a recent big drop in the number of visitors from China. The number of Chinese tourists plunged by 45% since last November. Beijing urged its citizens not to travel to Japan following diplomatic tensions between the two countries. Still, Japan's tourist minister said a record 42.7 million people visited Japan in 2025, exceeding for the first time the 40 million threshold. Back to you, Savannah.
All right, Claudio, thank you so much. Well, coming up, no link. New research debunks claims that taking Tylenol during pregnancy increases a child's risk of autism. Our Dr. Azar is in to walk us through the data and what expectant mothers should know coming up. And don't stress, we'll loop you in on a new method that could help ease your mind during high-stress situations. Your weekly check-in is next on Morning News Now. We are back now with new research that found no evidence to support a claim that taking Tylenol during pregnancy could raise a child's risk of autism. Well, a new review published Friday looked at years of scientific studies and found no link between acetaminophen, that's the active ingredient in Tylenol, also known as paracetamol, and autism or ADHD or other neurodevelopmental conditions. Excuse me. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar. Dr. Azar, always great to have you with us. First, let's just talk about this study. Like, how did the researchers go about this review, and is it different from other studies that had raised those concerns in the first place?
Super important question, Savannah. And the authors explicitly say that they undertook this, what's called a meta-analysis. That is an analysis of all the available studies out there on the potential link between Tylenol and autism as a direct result of the HHS announcement last fall, which we discussed, right, where the Department of Health and Human Services and the president said do not use Tylenol because it's associated with autism. So they did this study in direct response to that. And what makes it different from prior meta-analyses is that they were really trying, now I know this gets a little bit into the nitty-gritty of how studies are done, but it's important because the quality of the studies that are included are going to impact the conclusions that you draw from them. So what was really different about that, right, does it make sense, right? Yeah. So they wanted to make sure that they were really looking at studies that did show or had that the kids had exposure to Tylenol in utero. They weren't just basing this on self-report, right? Like a self-report of Tylenol use. They wanted to see medical records. And probably the most important thing that they draw their conclusions that there isn't a link is from sibling studies, right? Because siblings, what do they share? They share a family environment. They share genetics. And so if you can show that two siblings raised in the same household, one exposed to Tylenol and one not exposed to Tylenol, and there was no difference in the rate of autism, then you can effectively say that Tylenol, in all likelihood, is not associated with autism.
Got it. Okay. I think something that was a little surprising, I guess confusing to me, is the study's authors here even wrote that explaining this potential relationship is challenging.
Yes.
Why is that? Why is it kind of like hard to definitively say one way or the other here?
Well, let's think about how we like to conduct the most perfect study in a perfect world. It's called a randomized control placebo blinded study. That means that you would literally give one pregnant woman or a group of pregnant women Tylenol during pregnancy and a group of pregnant women no Tylenol during pregnancy. We can't do that study. That is unethical. Right. So what we are left with are what are called observational studies, retrospective studies. We are left with different ways of looking for this association. And according to experts in epidemiology and public health and OBGYN, et cetera, sibling studies happen to be the most robust. And there are 3 of them now that have consistently shown that there is not an association between Tylenol and the risk of autism, which is definitely reassuring.
So taking this review into consideration now, is there anything that pregnant women should actually be worried about if they're consuming Tylenol?
The short answer for the moment is no, unless we get more data that looks at the data, or I should say new studies that look at the data differently and come to a different conclusion. What we have said from the beginning, since the fall announcement from HHS, is why do pregnant women take Tylenol? They take Tylenol for pain and they take Tylenol for fever. 2 conditions that are independently themselves associated with poor maternal and poor fetal outcomes. And so the messaging has been very clear as we responded to this news report from the fall, is that women who have pain or fever are absolutely okay to take Tylenol at the lowest dose that works and for the shortest period of time. That was always the guidance, and that to this day and today, Savannah, is still the guidance.
Okay, so bottom line, you're pregnant.
Yes.
There has to be some option for women for pain relief. What would you say about taking Tylenol safely? Because I think like people who maybe haven't been pregnant or never will be pregnant might hear this and think like, okay, well, if you're even kind of thinking that there's an issue, just don't take Tylenol. Yeah. It's not always as simple as that.
So if you have like a mild headache, or you have like, oh, my knee hurts or something, and you normally would be someone who reaches for Tylenol. That's the kind of scenario where we would say, oh, you know, maybe try not taking it. But for fever and severe pain, there is a green light to take Tylenol. And what I think is most encouraging about this is that if you talk to OBGYNs and you talk to all these people, family practice physicians who've said, my patients are asking me and I am telling them that it's okay. So of course my message to our viewers and our listeners is, if you're about to become pregnant, you are pregnant, talk to your doctor. In all likelihood, they will tell you that to take Tylenol for those indications, pain and fever, judiciously is appropriate and safe.
I think fever is a good reminder, right? That that's also could negatively impact the baby.
That's the biggest,
not just, because you have a headache, it's a fever reducer.
So right. So if you have someone who's taking fever for an infection, let's say, and taking Tylenol for the fever because of the infection, how can you attribute a causal link to Tylenol? What about the fever and infection, which is kind of like the basis of this whole argument?
Right. Dr. Azar, thank you so much. As always, wonderful to have you with us. Important conversation. Well, now it is time for our weekly mental health check, and we're going to start with the debate over whether having AI screen people before letting them talk to a real-life therapist. What do we think about that? Also, more on how you're closing your open loops could help close out your stress. We're going to explain what that means. Licensed marriage and family therapist, our friend Dr. George James, joins us now with these stories and more. He is also the author of I Give Myself Permission, Take Risks, Be Imperfect, Live Boldly. It is a fantastic book that I can't recommend enough. Dr. James, good morning. Great to have you with us. Let's start with the first topic I mentioned. So some policymakers are recommending that patients get screened by AI bots, essentially, before they actually speak with a human therapist. Artificial intelligence in the mental health and wellness space, it's controversial, but we've discussed it a lot on this show, and obviously its uses are expanding in every field. What do you think here? What are some pros and cons of implementing this kind of approach, especially on a mass scale?
Yeah, good morning, Savannah. I think the pros are sometimes this type of access to AI to talk about mental health could actually maybe lower the barrier. Maybe some folks can get access or can talk through some of their challenges or situations, or they might be able to understand what they're dealing with. But I think the cons are that some folks are still learning how to use AI, what the right prompts are, a right way to discuss what they're dealing with. And so they might not fully address what's going on. And I actually still believe that it's better to be able to see a person. It's like using Google to diagnose like a medical condition. You actually still want to go see a physician so that you know what you're dealing with. Same thing with seeing a therapist to really get sure what you're going through and what you're dealing with.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, when you're like calling, your pharmacy or any department store, whatever, or like, if you're calling FedEx and you need a package and you just keep on talking to a robot and you're like, human, please, like I just need to explain everything that I'm having an issue with. And especially when it comes to your mental health, I think a lot of people certainly feel that way, but maybe it could help in some ways just with the capacity issue. Dr. James, this next one, some studies report that daydreaming can help support your mental health and your overall well-being. I love this. Explain the connection and what benefits could be.
Yeah, I love this as well. What this is talking about is just allowing yourself and your mind to wander, to daydream. And then sometimes we're quickly looking at our phone. They say like 50 times a day, sometimes we're looking at our phones. And so being able to give yourself the opportunity to just try it, to see how it feels. One, it can also help you resolve problems. I've seen this for myself. When I've just allowed myself to step away from something and come back or daydream, I find a thought or a solution. It also can help us connect with someone, to feel closer to them by just thinking positively about someone in our daydreams. So there's lots of good effects. Put down the phone, daydream a bit, and you might solve something and feel closer to somebody.
There you go. I love that so much. Okay, this one, too, I'm super interested in. So, when you have like a million internet tabs open, this is kind of akin to that. And I will say, you see my internet browser and you would be terrified. Like, it is a billion tabs and then another window with more tabs. Experts are calling sort of like a mental version of closing those tabs, closing your open loops. They say this can relieve stress and mental clutter. What does this mean? What is a loop? How do you close it? How does it work? How does it make you feel better?
Yes, Savannah, you and I are in the same situation. I have too many open tabs. But when they say open loops, what they're saying are things that you have on your mental task list. You might say, I need to call the doctor. I need to schedule this for my child. There are all these things that we have that are on our minds, constantly taking up time, energy, and space. And closing the loop is actually kind of making sure that you get those things done. Maybe make a list, write it down, and get it done. Or it's going to take time. Take a little bit of of time to work through it so you can get to the end of it. But the more you do that, the more you create more space for you. All these things, I'm going to call somebody, text somebody back. Oh, I forgot to do that. It just creates this open loop that you can close that can give you more time. Now, one of the things they do say is if you have too many open loops, maybe something else could be going on with you. You could maybe feeling a little bit depressed, anxious, or dealing with something else.
All right. Really, really good information there. Dr. George James, always great to have you. Thank you so much. Well, more money news now. A new study is drawing a connection between weight loss drugs and the bottom lines of big airlines. NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Canal is with us for her first Money Minute. Ali, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Great to have you.
Yes, and it's really interesting this morning. Weight loss drugs, they could save U.S. airlines big money, at least according to one new Wall Street analysis. Investment firm Jefferies estimating that major carriers like American, Delta, Southwest, and United could save up to $580 million per year as passengers slim down on GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic. The reason, less weight on board, means lower fuel costs in the air. And a Georgia-based food company, Susanna's Kitchen, is recalling more than 13,000 pounds of frozen chicken over a listeria risk. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says the ready-to-eat chicken was distributed in several states, including Alabama, Florida, Missouri, and Ohio. No illnesses have been reported so far, but customers who purchase a recalled chicken should throw it out or return it and check the USDA website for details. Meanwhile, some tech news this morning. Meta's Threads is edging out X in daily mobile users. New data from SimilarWeb, which tracks app and web usage, shows more people are now opening Threads each day on their phones, even as X still leads on the web. Analysts say new features like DMs and interest-based communities, along with promotion across Meta's bigger apps like Instagram and Facebook, are driving the growth. And Savannah, I don't know if you use Threads. I'm not a big Threads user. I feel like we have way too many social media apps.
I agree. I agree.
But maybe a changing of the guards when it comes to what people are turning to.
Yeah, super interesting. Also, so is that study about airlines.
Isn't that crazy?
That really is. Yep. I mean, wow, what an impact.
I know. We'll see if it shows up earnings.
That's right. And Ali will start being with us for our Money Minute. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Coming up, the Hoosier hype is real. Indiana going from worst to first in college football, waking up as national champions for the first time ever. We will have highlights from their historic win, capping off a perfect season. Don't drop the ball. Morning News Now. We'll be right back. We are back now with the fairy tale ending to an incredible story in college football. This morning, the Indiana Hoosiers are waking up as national champions. And this is historic. Indiana beat the Miami Hurricanes 27-21 last night on their home turf at the Hard Rock Stadium to stay undefeated this season. They won a perfect 16-0 this year, and it marks an incredible achievement for a program that has a long history of being one of the worst teams in the country. But now the Hoosiers have crawled out from the shadows to earn their first national title in school history. For more on all this, let's bring in national college football reporter with The Athletic, Scott Docterman. Scott, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Oh, what a fun one. What a fun game. Just so cool. The whole Indiana story has just been incredible to follow. Before the season, Indiana had the second most losses in FBS history. Now they are the first major college team since Yale in 1894 to go 16-0. Walk us through last game and just what this title means to them.
It's an amazing turnaround. It's a fairy tale, but it's also Cinderella kind of turning into an MMA fighter. Last year, when Kurt Signetti joined the Hoosiers, they were coming off a 3-9 season. They go to the playoff in 1 year, and then this year they take it, and they're the first 16-0 team, in more than 100 years. And it's been a really impressive climb. Last night, you had a bunch of key moments that went back and forth between the teams, but then Heisman winning trophy quarterback Fernando Mendoza showed why he's the best player in the sport. Came through with a 4th down run that's one of the most epic plays in the history of Indiana, the state, not just the team and the program.
Scott, you mentioned a couple of these things, but I mean, just what a turnaround. Let's talk through some of the factors that help make that possible, like their coach.
Yeah, this was a program, as you said, that had won one outright Big Ten title ever. It had been a part of the Big Ten since 1899, and its last major title in the Big Ten was 1945, its last solo title. But the confluence of NIL, being able to pay players, the transfer portal, which allows players to transfer with immediate eligibility, coupled with a great coach in Curt Cignetti, who, as we all remember, said, "I win, Google me," and now we can Google him, and he is a champion. So this is one of the most remarkable stories in sports history, not just college football history. It's kind of the equivalent, I would say, of the Milan Miracle that spawned the movie Hoosiers. Now Hoosiers is a reality.
And I cannot get enough, by the way, of his his facial expressions and the arched eyebrows and the nothing when something really good happens. It's just really something to see. We also do have to talk about the Miami Hurricanes. I mean, they were 10th seed in this year's playoffs, so total underdogs headed into this game, but still it came down to the wire. Tell us about their performance and how the season will go down for them.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't in the playoff field until the very last Sunday, and they leapfrogged Notre Dame to get into the tournament, and there they went. They went on the road and beat Texas A&M. They upset Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, and then they beat Ole Miss in a shootout. And then last night they showed why they were capable of being in this game, because they have a great defensive line that was very active, and then they were able to really have a chance to win it at the end until a late interception tipped the game towards Indiana.
Scott, by the way, who was there last night, I think he's on like 1 hour of sleep and still here reporting for us. Just quickly, it had to be electric in there.
It was amazing. And I mean, I think Indiana fans proved why they're one of the best fan bases in the country. Even though it was a road game unofficially, they probably had 70% of the fans there. Wow. And they've had at least 80% in the other two games.
Awesome. Scott, thank you very much. Fun conversation. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Savannah.
Well, we're going to end this hour with the countdown to Milan Cortina as one Massachusetts native celebrates his Olympic curling dreams coming to life on the ice. NBC Boston's Eli Rosenberg has the story ahead of next month's games.
For Corey Dropkin, curling is not a hobby. It is not a pastime. Being out here doing this isn't just for fun. Curling, you see, is in his blood.
I mean, it's kind of like a religion to me.
A religion for as long as Corey can remember. The Southborough, Mass. native started curling when he was 5. The Broomstones Curling Club in Wayland, his second home.
My parents, ran our junior curling program at Broomstones, and my brother was already knees deep into curling, so I was his shadow. I followed his footsteps, and, I enjoyed it just as much as he did.
Enjoyed it, and he was quite good at it. Moving from Mass to Minnesota to pursue his Olympic dream. A dream paved by curling teams before him. He was just 10. Watching the Olympics in Torino in 2006, when Team USA Curling won bronze. First USA medal in the sport ever.
You definitely have to love whatever you pursue and put all your time into, and curling has definitely been that for me. And throwing stones and hearing the roar of the stone going down the sheet and listening to the stones collide and clash.
The passion unlocked and the results followed, including the gold medal at the World Championships in 2023. And in a few short weeks, he's going to be competing in Cortina in the Olympics after winning the U.S. Olympic team trials earlier this year in mixed doubles. And after all that work, he has been soaking it all in, from taking his brother, his role model in the sport, with him to a recent USA Summit in New York City, to appearing with us on the set of the Today Show, to preparing to live what has long just been a goal.
Dream come true. That's it right there. It's something I've worked my entire life to get to, is to play in the Olympics with the USA on my back, and finally achieving that. Being so close in the past and having that door sort of close on me, and needing to get past that, those road bumps and keep in pursuit. It means the world to me to be able to finally be an Olympian.
Our thanks to Eli for that inspiring story, and we can't wait for so many more in just a few short weeks. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us, so the news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks so much for
for starting off your Tuesday with us. I'm Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, cold snap. Tens of millions of Americans from Michigan to Maine and all the way down to Florida, waking up to some positively brutal below freezing temps. Check out this scene from the Great Lakes state. A major highway reopened this morning after a 100-car pileup snarled traffic yesterday. And Mother Nature's deep freeze isn't thawing out just yet. We have got your full forecast coming up. Plus, the growing global pressure on President Trump over his escalating push for Greenland. European leaders now pressing the commander-in-chief for de-escalation after a text exchange between Mr. Trump and Norway's prime minister revealed that Nobel Peace Prize snub could be behind his continued threats. But how far will the president go for the Danish territory? His telling response in an exclusive interview with NBC News. We are also watching your wallet on this Tuesday with some tips on how you might be able to skip those pharmacy counter headaches and actually save some green on higher drug costs this year, no matter how you pay. And undefeated, a fairy tale college football season capped off with Heisman glory. Indiana's relentless Hoosiers weathering Miami's Hurricanes in a championship brawl overnight that is heading straight to the history books. And if you stayed up late to watch that, we thank you once again for joining us this morning. We are going to begin this hour with yet another morning of dangerous cold in multiple regions of the country. Tens of millions from the Northeast all the way down to Florida are waking up to sub-freezing temperatures. And the cold, combined with blizzard-like conditions, is creating chaos for travelers this morning. We will get a full look at the forecast in just a moment. But first, let's get the latest from NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin. Aaron, good morning.
Hey there, it's shockingly cold out here. In New York City, temperatures dropped another 10 degrees. And that's the case around a large part of the country, even all the way down to Florida. That extreme weather is creating chaos both on the road and in the air, making post-holiday travel a nightmare. This morning, the polar plunge punching through the heart of the country, from Minnesota to Maine, with frigid temps stretching all the way down to Florida, and more than 40 million under cold weather alerts. The wicked weather wreaking havoc on the nation's roads. In Michigan, whiteout conditions near the Great Lakes.
That sounds like there might be some injuries.
And a 100-car pileup near Grand Rapids with numerous injuries after multiple tractor trailers spun out.
I went off the edge.
Cars forced off the road and down an embankment. Drivers stranded in potentially deadly temps.
I can't open my door. Oh, yeah, it's jammed down here.
Folks urged to stay in their cars until school buses arrived to take them to safety. Chaos on the highways and in the skies. Thousands of delays reported at the nation's airports Monday as folks made their way home after the holiday weekend. Travel despite temperatures plummeting across the Midwest, fueling a surge in the number of emergency calls in Milwaukee, with wind chills as low as -24. How dangerous are these temps?
I mean, very dangerous. When we have weather like this, really minutes count.
You can get frostbite in a few minutes.
In a few minutes, yeah, under 10 minutes in weather like this, when you have that blowing wind along with the cold.
From western New York to Ohio to New England, they're digging out and cleaning up from the weekend as temps drop another 10 degrees. Experts say the key to safely getting through these really dangerous temps is to limit the amount of time you spend outside and layer up. Think hands, feet, head. And remember, you saw that scary crash in Michigan. If you're out on the roads, make sure you have an emergency kit in your car with food, water, first aid kit, and other supplies. Back to you.
Oh, Aaron, really good tips there. That was such a scary crash there in Michigan. Well, for even more about what's ahead here, let's bring in meteorologist Andrea O'Mara. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. And we have this setup that continues to bring us the straight shot of cold air from the Arctic with that West Coast ridge and that Hudson Bay low. We are looking at these winter weather advisories, cold air advisories in effect here for parts of the Midwest, into the Great Lakes, and even down into Florida, where we have freeze warnings up for this morning. The temperatures are way below normal for this time of day. We're looking at temperatures that are close to 29 degrees in Ocala right now, and the normal low temperature should be around 45 degrees for the late night and early morning hours. But of course, the bitter cold is felt even more here across the northern tier. Temperatures are sub-freezing, and the wind chills are even colder than that. We're looking in Green Bay right now, a wind chill temperature of barely 21 degrees below zero. And here in New York, we're looking at a wind chill of close to 4 degrees. And that's what we're expecting today. Cold temperature will stick around. We're looking at temperatures in the teens, even colder up north. This frigid wind chills will continue throughout the whole day and will continue into tonight as well. Now, as far as the precipitation, we are tracking this clipper system that's going to be dropping across the northern plains. It's going to continue to bring snow to parts of Minneapolis. That will be into this evening. And then, of course, we have these heavy, intense lake effect snow bands to continue to bring a lot of snow into parts of northern New York, into the Great Lakes, downwind of the lakes. We do have these snow showers tomorrow expanding into the northeast, and then Thursday will continue to be blustery and cold along the Great Lakes region, and we have those winter weather alerts where we can have accumulations of possibly 2 to 4 feet in parts of northern New York, in those areas right there downwind of Lake Ontario. And then, of course, the big story, Savannah, that weekend winter storm setup we're looking at. We have the cold air in place. We're getting that moisture from the Gulf. We're looking at this. It's a lot of real estate that the storm is going to be covering into the weekend, starting Friday, Saturday. It'll be stretching into the plains, into the southern Atlantic, into the mid-Atlantic, and possibly even into the northeast on Sunday. So it's going to be an ice storm, a snowstorm, a rainstorm. It's going to have a little bit of everything. And we're looking at the possibility of high accumulations. That
doesn't sound good for travel Sunday, Monday, does it?
It's going to be a major impact as far as the air travel.
All right, Andrea, thank you so much. Well, diplomatic tensions between the U.S. and Europe are showing no signs of easing up after President Trump doubled down on his desire to take control of resource-rich Greenland. European allies are scrambling to push back against the president after he threatened additional tariffs on several countries and refused to rule out military force to seize the Danish territory. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us with the latest on this one. Gabe, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning. Today marks 1 year into President Trump's second term, and it has been an extraordinary 24 hours, with world leaders publicly sharing text messages between themselves as tensions escalate between allies. Later today, President Trump will leave the White House and head to Europe for the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, where he now says he's agreed to meetings about the future of Greenland. Overnight, tensions ramping up over Greenland after the president saying he'll tell European leaders America aims to take over the territory, which is currently controlled by Denmark.
Look, we have to have it. They have to have this done.
The president later posting an image of him planting a flag on the Arctic island. But Europe's been pushing back, with more Danish troops arriving in Greenland.
We see this as unnecessary and irresponsible.
And the office of French President Emmanuel Macron confirming he sent a text message to Trump, which the president also posted. Macron writing that the two are aligned on issues like Syria and Iran, but, quote, "I do not understand what you are doing on Greenland." The president has framed his long-standing interest on the territory of 57,000 people around defense.
If we don't have it, we have a big hole in national security.
Saying it's a gateway to threats from Russia and China, which Denmark and others deny. Greenland is also rich in resources, including rare earth minerals that are used in electronics and high-tech manufacturing, including the AI boom. All of those fields part of a growing race between the U.S. and China, though Trump has said he's interested in security, not minerals. Other European leaders also reaching out to the president. In a remarkable disclosure, Norway's prime minister revealing he sent a text message to Trump, asking for a phone call and saying we should all work to take this down and de-escalate. Norway says the president responded, "Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace." He's very preoccupied with the Nobel Peace Prize, Norway's prime minister told reporters, adding the Nobel Committee selects the prize winners, not the Norwegian government. Overnight, the president firing back.
No, I don't care about the Nobel Prize. If anybody thinks that Norway doesn't doesn't control the Nobel Prize. They're just kidding.
Amid the possibility of new tariffs and a reignited trade war over Greenland, market futures are down sharply this morning. Also in Davos, the president is set to unveil his Board of Peace to oversee reconstruction in Gaza. Among the world leaders invited to join the board, Russian President Vladimir Putin. Savannah.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez, a lot to watch for with the president today. Thank you so much. Well, let's get some financial analysis on this potential new trade war with Brooke DePalma. She's a senior reporter for Yahoo Finance. Brooke, thanks very much for coming and being on set with us. Good morning. Okay, so markets were closed yesterday. It was a holiday here. Global markets, though, however, were open. And tell us what it's looking like ahead of the open today. How are markets reacting to this potential new trade war and this escalation in rhetoric from the president?
Right. Well, right now, what we're seeing is the continuation of what we saw last year, which is really this uncertainty fueling investors' fear about what exactly this can mean. We're seeing all three major indices within the U.S. markets. Once again, this will be the first day reopen after the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And so we're seeing a sell-off across all three major indices, the Dow leading that downward momentum alongside the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. But in addition to that, global markets also feeling the impact as well. The FTSE as well as the Frankfurt Stock Exchange also feeling the impact. And we're seeing a bit of a sell America trade, as we've seen here and there throughout the first 3 weeks of this month, the dollar falling sharply, and also this sell-off of Japanese bonds also impacting treasury yields, leading to the highest increase in nearly 4 months.
So we know if the president does this, and then if there are retaliatory measures from the EU, I mean, that leads to just prices going up pretty simply. Walk us through what consumers should keep in mind.
Well, the biggest impacts would be ones that we heard last year. Automakers potentially feeling the impact. That's why we're seeing BMW as well as Volkswagen, their stocks getting impacted this morning. Also, luxury makers like LVMH. Think about those European goods companies that would be impacted the most from this. And those are the companies that are getting hit the hardest in this pre-market trading hours. In addition to that, also keep a lookout for that newly announced potential 200% tariff on champagne and French wine that President Trump said that he would put into effect. Because I know, big impact there, because French leader Emmanuel Macron potentially not joining this peace initiative that President Trump has. That could lead a major impact on wine sellers. And also what I'm hearing from sources on the street is that this is a sector that already was hit. Small liquor retailers are already having to pull back on selection and choices, and certainly having to potentially pass along those higher prices to consumers already because of what we saw last year. This now a potential lingering, ongoing uncertainty for those retailers as well.
And it's just been like that, right? I mean, there's so much since President Trump has taken office. We've sort of lived in this zone of uncertainty, which markets do not like. And I think that that's spooking people at home, looking at their retirement, looking at their savings accounts. What is your advice to people?
Well, what we're hearing from sources this morning, it was in many notes to clients, is that we could see a sell-off of about 1% to 3% today, depending upon how investors feel. What we have seen is this sell America trade, and then ultimately investors buying the dip. And that's what one analyst, Dan Ives with Wedbush, telling investors, look at these tech names that really have seen such momentum. He believes that we continue to see this AI revolution really increase the equity market, really lead to momentum. So keep a look out there, potentially buying the dip opportunities here. A lot of people like to say the market's on sale when it comes to days like this. But for consumers, certainly keep an eye on potential prices being increased because of this. But we still have all those tariffs that are about to go into effect from last year. So lots of unknowns on what this could eventually lead to.
Absolutely. Brooke DePalma, thank you so much. Great to have you. Well, this morning, multiple law enforcement agencies are still searching for the suspect in the shooting of a judge and his wife at their Indiana home over the weekend. It comes amid a rise in threats targeting judges and politicians. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is here with the latest on this manhunt. Sam, good morning.
So disturbing, and you put it perfectly. There is an active manhunt underway right now, Savannah, for the person responsible here. What we're talking about right now is just the latest in a string of attacks against public officials. In this situation, you're talking about a judge who has been serving on the bench for more than a decade, as well as his wife, attacked in their home as the search is on right now to try to find the person responsible for yet the latest episode of violence against someone in the public light. This morning, an urgent manhunt in Indiana after a judge and his wife were shot inside their home.
Additional units is possibly going to be a shooting.
State Court Judge Stephen Meyer and his wife Kimberly are both now recovering in stable condition. Police found shotgun casings at the couple's home in Lafayette, Indiana, and a 911 dispatch describing the terrifying events on Sunday.
They advised there was a knock on the door. Someone advised we have your dog, and then a shot came through the door. They don't know who shot him.
While authorities are investigating, the shooter is still at large. Meyer had served as a city council member and ran for office as a Democrat. He recently announced his upcoming retirement from the bench. Now the Chief Justice of the state sounding the alarm, saying in a statement, quote, "I worry about the safety of all of our judges. Any violence against a judge or a judge's family is completely unacceptable." It comes as multiple judges have been killed at their homes in recent years amid an uptick in political violence targeting public figures, including the shooting of Charlie Kirk, the firebombing of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's home, and the assassination of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband. That alleged shooter also injuring Senator John Hoffman at his home, according to authorities. Hoffman opening up this week.
One bullet I saw come through the door actually hit me here. This one was 2 millimeters from my heart.
Now calling for unity against the threats.
It's not about me. It's about what we do collectively.
While back in Indiana, the community coming together, Kimberly Meyer acknowledging the outpouring of support and saying, quote, "Everyone has been so kind and compassionate." And also troubling here is that police so far, Savannah, have not even identified a motive or a possible description of the shooter. We do know that police say it's both federal, state, and local agencies that are all collaborating to try to find this person. And obviously, it's of the utmost urgency.
Oh, absolutely. Just so disturbing. Sam, thank you. There's more to come on this hour of Morning News Now. We're going to take a closer look at rising drug prices across the nation, why you might have to shell out some extra cash this year, and how you can save at the pharmacy. First, though, the dire stories of desperation on the ground in Iran amid deadly anti-government protests and a reignited push for regime change from the White House. Stay with us. We are back with the latest on the ongoing crisis in Iran as President Trump suggests a regime change. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons looks at the stories we are hearing from inside the country and a warning some of the images in this report are disturbing.
The human face of the massacre in Iran is slowly emerging, one picture at a time. Human rights groups posting images of those killed. Individual stories unconfirmed by NBC News. But over 4,000 were slaughtered in the crackdown on protests, according to a US-based human rights activist news agency. Around 180 of the dead were government-affiliated, it says. Others put the numbers much higher, the deadliest days since the Iranian Revolution in 1979.
They were crushed. Security forces carried out mass killings and mass arrests across the whole country.
Videos of the violence are digitally smuggled out, despite an internet blackout, showing protesters covered in blood and automatic weapons fired at protesters. It's not clear who's holding the gun here, but they are wearing a visor suggesting a member of Iran's security services.
Witnesses talk about military-style operations, snipers shooting protesters directly in the head or chest.
Hengor Organization for Human Rights hearing stories, not confirmed by NBC News, of mothers and children killed by direct gunfire, even pregnant women. Tonight, the protests have largely disappeared. President Trump, who had told the Iranian people help is on the way, pulling back from threats of striking on Iran after he said the regime halted the execution of 800 people. President Trump over the weekend telling Politico it's time to look for new leadership in Iran after Iran's supreme leader blamed America and Israel for the protests and called Trump a war criminal. Trump's ambassador to the United Nations saying all options are on the table.
President Trump is a man of action.
While yesterday, Iran's president warned an attack on our country's supreme leader is equivalent to a full-scale war with the Iranian people. Some human rights groups now say they suspect executions are taking place away from the cameras. If President Trump does decide to strike Iran, he could decide to go after what's left of its nuclear capability or target its oil production, which provides most of its revenue. If he chooses to target its 86-year-old leader, that could provoke a fierce reaction or lead to the collapse of the regime. There is now a bitter debate over those options, with many here in this region in the Middle East urging the president not to go too far. Others saying the time has come.
All right, Keir, thank you very much. Well, the fashion world is mourning the loss of a legend. Valentino, the designer whose name became synonymous with timeless elegance, has died in Rome at the age of 93. NBC News entertainment correspondent, Chloe Melas takes a look back at his life and legacy.
Valentino, one of the most influential fashion designers of the last century, has died. In a statement posted to his Instagram account Monday, the fashion house said Valentino passed away at his Roman residence, surrounded by his loved ones. Born Valentino Clemente Ludovico Garavani on May 11, 1932, in Voghera, Italy, Valentino showed an early passion for design, studying fashion in Paris before launching his label in Rome in 1959.
I know what women want.
And what do they want?
They want to be beautiful.
It was his signature unforgettable red that would become his calling card. Supermodels singing his praises over his nearly 50-year career.
Always just really extremely elegant.
The Valentino label, a staple for A-listers on the red carpet.
There's just something about the line, man, and I think this is timeless. It's a work of art.
Former First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy wore this custom Valentino dress when she wed Greek shipping tycoon Aristotle Onassis. Elizabeth Taylor at a celebration for her film Spartacus in 1960. And who could ever forget Julia Roberts in that black and white gown when she won the Oscar for Best Actress in 2001.
Thank you ever so much.
The structure, the craftsmanship, but then the simplicity of a Valentino piece, you just know instantly when you put it on.
Style correspondent Xana Roberts-Rossi says his legacy goes beyond just fashion.
He spent time with all of these people in a personal setting as well, on the boats, on the yachts, in the private dinners, in the homes, in the vacations. Ironically, he was probably more of a celebrity than the celebrities he dressed.
That same year, Valentino retired, holding his final show in Paris at the Musée Rodin, a farewell fitting for a master of elegance. Valentino, a designer who defined beauty, restraint, and romance, leaves behind a legacy stitched into fashion history itself.
Our thanks to Chloe Melas for that tribute and look back there. Well, we are turning now to a very public family fallout involving one of the world's most famous celebrity couples, the eldest son of soccer star David Beckham and fashion designer and former Spice Girl Victoria Beckham, posting on social media Monday saying his relationship with his parents has become strained, and really saying quite a bit more than that. NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter joins us from London with the latest. Molly, this has been a talker, and then certainly this added fuel to the fire. Good morning.
Yeah, fuel to the fire, gasoline, definitely. And I think strained is an understatement, Savannah, as you say. Good morning to you. Now, the rumors of conflict between Brooklyn Beckham and his iconic parents, well, they've reached new levels this morning. And David Beckham is actually at Davos this week and was asked about it this morning. Take a look.
This morning, a bitter family feud is brewing after explosive claims from within one of Britain's most famous families. Brooklyn Beckham speaking out about the alleged clash with his superstar parents, soccer legend David Beckham, and former Spice Girl turned fashion designer Victoria Beckham. In a series of 6 Instagram stories shared Monday, Brooklyn wrote in part, "I do not want to reconcile with my family," adding, "I have been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private." The majority of the 26-year-old statement focused on his marriage to actress Nicola Peltz Beckham, who sometimes appears in his social media clips as a budding culinary content creator.
I have my sous chef.
Brooklyn alleging his parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. Now he claims his mother derailed some of their wedding plans. Writing, she canceled making Nicola's dress in the 11th hour, despite how excited she was to wear her design, and even hijacked my first dance with my wife. The former Spice Girl joined today, just months after Brooklyn's wedding in 2022.
It was a beautiful wedding, and as a mother, to see my son so happy means so much.
Nearly 2 years later, Nicola discussed joining the Beckham family.
And Brooklyn grew up so close with his family, so now for us to all be able to spend so much time together, I feel so lucky.
In 2024, Brooklyn opened up here on Today about the connection between his wife and family.
My mum and dad love her. You know, everyone gets along, which I'm so happy about.
Now, he writes, his wife is consistently disrespected by his family. On New Year's Eve, David posting these throwback images with Brooklyn and the rest of his family with the caption, "You are my life." And this morning in Davos, David Beckham ignoring questions by our partners at Sky News.
David, do you have a message for Brooklyn this morning? David, you disappointed family business is being aired in public?
Walking right by those cameras in Davos this morning. No comment from Sir David. Now, Brooklyn also posted on social media that his parents tried to bribe him to sign away the rights to his name, also saying, quote, brand Beckham comes first. Now, NBC News has reached out to a rep for Brooklyn, and we have not heard back. Savannah.
All right, Molly, thank you very much. Well, coming up, like a lot of things lately, your next prescription could weigh a little heavier on your wallet. When Morning News Now returns, we will dig into how you can save some money on your medications this year, no matter how you plan on paying. That is up next. Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics. This morning, we're going to start with a fresh call to release the Epstein files. NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach has that and more. Gary, good morning.
Hey there, Savannah. Good morning. Here's what's happening in politics now. A survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse is asking a federal judge to appoint an independent monitor to ensure the full Epstein files are released, as the law requires. Lisa Phillips says she has, quote, no confidence that the Department of Justice will release the millions of documents the DOJ says they are still currently working on reviewing. Phillips says the DOJ's failure to comply with the law has caused her and her fellow survivors significant emotional distress. A federal judge is expected to decide on whether an independent monitor is appointed in the coming days. 3 of the highest-ranking Catholic cardinals in the United States are sounding the alarm about moral questions they say are raised by recent U.S. foreign policy decisions. Archbishops from Chicago, Washington, D.C., and New Jersey said in a statement that events in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Greenland raise questions about the use of military force and say America's moral role in the world is, quote, under examination. Pope Leo made similar comments earlier this month, suggesting a, quote, zeal for the war is spreading. And finally this morning, the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments on a big gun rights case. The question whether a Hawaii law that requires people who are carrying firearms to seek permission before entering a private property is a violation of the Second Amendment's right to bear arms. The measure impacts places like gas stations, stores, and restaurants, places that are generally open to the public, but are still technically private property. Gun rights advocates say it infringes on their right to carry firearms in public, while gun control advocates say the protection of property rights is key here. We expect a decision from the court on this issue by June. That's what's happening in politics now. Savannah, back to you.
All right, Gary, thank you very much. Well, on the consumer front this year, list prices on hundreds of medications are going up with a typical hike of about 4%. There is some good news, though. There are ways to bring those costs down, whether you have insurance or if you're paying out of pocket. We've got our friend NBC News Chief Consumer Investigative Correspondent Vicki Wynn here to help us manage these rising prescription costs and avoid paying more than you need to. Vicki, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Savannah.
Okay, so obviously insurance is a big quirk here, right? That determines how much you're paying for sure. Let's start with people who do have coverage. What do we need to know?
Okay, it's January, so that means your deductible has reset. And this is a really good time, Savannah, to go and make sure that the pharmacies that you're using are in network, especially if your insurance plan has changed. You can do that by going to your insurance company's website or looking at that 800 number on the back of the card. You can also check out the price comparison tools that some insurance companies have that will let you know how much your medicine will cost at various pharmacies. You can also call your local pharmacies directly. It makes no sense, but sometimes when you pay out of pocket with cash for your medicine, it is actually cheaper than if you were to use your insurance.
Yeah, you're right. That makes no sense.
I don't make the rules, and it doesn't make sense. And also just look at the drug maker to see if they have coupons on their websites. Yeah, don't shoot the messenger. Exactly.
This might be a dumb question, but when you say in-network pharmacy, when we're just talking about like the big brands across the country, a CVS, a Walgreens, is that usually in-network for everyone?
Yeah, typically they are. And also if you're a member of Costco or one of those wholesale clubs that offers pharmacy services, but it does depend on your insurance. So you want to make sure you know.
Okay, if you do not have insurance and your standard go-to is out of pocket, how can you save?
You're certainly not alone. 27 million Americans, it's estimated, do not have insurance, and that's likely an undercount according to the latest U.S. Census. That's also a number that's likely to go up because of the Affordable Care Act subsidies that have expired this year. So first, when you're at the doctor or when you go to the pharmacist, ask, is there a lower priced drug? Is there an effective generic or alternative medicine that I can take? Also, go to GoodRx. This is a site that not only has coupons, but will also allow you to price compare across multiple types of pharmacies, like the CVS's, the Walgreens, that you mentioned, grocery stores as well. Mark Cuban has a website called Cost Plus Drugs. That doesn't have all of the medications out there, but it has a lot. And if yours is on there, you will pay significantly less. And then finally, straight to the drug maker, a lot of them will have cash direct-to-consumer pricing. We saw that with the weight loss drugs, where if you are not using insurance, you can get a deal.
Very interesting. We've heard a lot of news here. Like, there's been a lot of headlines. The president working to bring drug prices down. There was a whole list that we had of them that are going to be significantly reduced. Who qualifies for those low prices? Yeah. When can you see those low prices and avoid overpaying?
Yes, I'll take the first question and start with some good news, which is for people who are on Medicare, seniors, they are actually seeing big reductions, 40 to 80% on popular drugs like Eliquis, the blood thinner, or Jardiance, which is a diabetes drug. And that's thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, when we get to the Trump administration and Trump RX, many headlines about the kinds of medicines that will be on it. But as of now, the website is not working. It's expected sometime early this year. Also, there's not a full list of drugs available anywhere. We do know the president has negotiated some deals on those popular GLP-1 meds like Wegovy and Zepbound that have brought prices down for consumers. Experts we spoke to say if you're using your insurance, Trump RX is unlikely to make a huge difference for you. If you are underinsured or uninsured, then you might see significant cost savings. But all is left to TBD right now because we don't have the website yet.
All right, Vicki, even if you might need some help, you're struggling to afford some of these prices, insured or not, what are the resources if you need, to fill in the gaps here?
First and foremost, I want people to know there is help, and please don't ration your medicine. Don't stop taking medicine that you need. Check with state and local programs to see if there are any nonprofits that can help you in your area. And a good place to start is needymeds.org or fundfinder.org. Those will connect you with local groups in your area, charitable organizations that can cover the cost of your meds. If you're in a hospital, ask for somebody called the Patient Financial Navigator. This is someone who can help you with all of your healthcare costs, but be direct, be upfront. You have to be your own best advocate and ask for help and say, hey, I need assistance paying for these meds. And also drug makers themselves, the Lillys, the Pfizers, the AbbVies of the world.
They offer help.
If you qualify, you can get your medicines discounted or for free. But all of the onus is on you to advocate for yourself as a patient. It takes some work, but it's certainly worth it when you think about how expensive prescription medicines are.
Oh, no kidding. Vicki, thank you so much. Really important conversation. Coming up, when was the last time you actually wrote something out in cursive? Well, some states are trying to bring it back and work to make sure students will learn. We will write it out for you next. Welcome back. In California, a proposed wealth tax is dividing the state's super rich. Some are worried it could push companies to other states, while others say the ultra wealthy need to pay their fair share. NBC News Now anchor Gotti Schwartz has a look at this debate.
It's the California gold rush in reverse. Google co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin, just the latest tech billionaires eyeing a move out of the Golden State.
I think a lot of other people will leave. It's probably half the total wealth that the budget estimated would be available to be taxed will be gone.
According to The Times, Page and Brin alone have either terminated or moved a combined 60 LLCs out of the state where they made their fortune. They say it's thanks to a possible ballot measure that would enact a one-time 5% tax on billionaires' net worth. Backers still need to gather 875,000 signatures before it makes the November ballot, but plutocrats are already worried.
If you've heard about the billionaire 5% tax rate out of California, you should be very, very concerned.
Billionaires suck and they will try to divide us.
It's being pushed by a union of healthcare workers who say the funds raised are crucial to save the state's failing healthcare system and other programs facing federal cuts, especially after the big, beautiful bill's tax breaks.
The benefit from this tax is going to outweigh, maybe a couple people moving out of the state. And if we don't do anything right now, we are going to see our hospitals close. We are going to see ERs close. And so that's really what this billionaire tax is about.
And not all billionaires are against the billionaire tax, like Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA.
Whatever taxes, I guess, they would like to apply, so be it.
And it's being supported by Congressman Ro Khanna, who represents Silicon Valley and has been a tech insider booster.
You build all that wealth, fine, but we've got to have a social contract in this country where the wealth can't just be in the hands of the few. You've got to have some sense that every person, working class families, are going to benefit from that.
But critics argue the tax could normalize property seizure and allow the governments to audit everything you own.
The reason they're calling it a billionaire tax is to make it easier for people to vote for it and sign up to this entirely new tax system.
Already, one venture capitalist is estimating the threat of the tax has cost California a whopping $1 trillion as more and more tech giants open shop in more tax-friendly states. PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, Kraft Ventures co-founder David Sachs, and Oracle CEO Larry Ellison, just to name a few.
Shout out to our boy, Ro Khanna, for driving everybody out of the state.
The proposed measure drawing bipartisan opposition, with Sachs currently serving as the White House AI and crypto czar, writing on social media, after blindly funding the left for years, Silicon Valley is finally realizing what time it is. Dinner time, and they're on the menu. And on the left, California's Governor Gavin Newsom.
You can't isolate yourself from the 49 others. We're in a competitive environment.
But public sentiment seems to be stacked against the ultra-wealthy. A recent poll from The Economist and YouGov finds that 80% of Americans say that wealth inequality is a big problem, while 62% of Americans say the amount billionaires are taxed is too low. The deadline for collecting signatures is June 24th, and then onto the November ballot.
All right, thanks to Gotti Schwartz for that report. Well, more money news now. Wall Street is betting big on blockchain. NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Canal has our Money Minute for us. Hey, Ali, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Savannah. Yeah, really interesting story here. The New York Stock Exchange is working on a platform that would let investors buy and sell digital versions of stocks anytime. That means day or night. So instead of waiting days for trades to settle, transactions could clear almost instantly using the same blockchain-based technology that lets crypto trade around the clock. Now, the plan still needs regulatory approval, but if cleared, it could change how and when people trade stocks. And across the pond, the UK is considering a social media ban for kids under 16 after Australia became the first country to do so last year. The government has launched a public consultation that could limit access and require stronger age verification from platforms. Officials say the goal is protecting children's well-being, with a decision expected later this summer. And Panera is turning back the clock, launching a limited-time 2016 menu as nostalgia for that era goes viral online. The throwback spotlights fan-favorite items that were already on the menu but hit peak popularity a decade ago, like the bacon turkey Bravo sandwich, the broccoli cheddar bread bowl, and the chocolate chipper cookie. The menu is available exclusively through the Panera app with discounts for reward members. And I love that turkey bacon Bravo sandwich. I loved it in 2016. I love it now. And I love the trend that's going online.
Okay, the trend, I'm like, is anybody else like 2016, not my year, no thanks, don't need to share it. However, I'm into food places doing this. More places should do that.
Exactly. I feel like a lot of these fast food chains, they need to hop on the social media bandwagon, especially when things like this go viral, because obviously we start to talk about it, and that creates some buzz.
Completely. That's just a fun one, though, because throwback food is always good. All right, Ali, thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.